reviewing the start of the summer blockbuster season, and that is The Fall Guy. All right, I'm gonna go first on this one. The Fall Guy is directed by David Leitch, who brought us such classics as like Deadpool 2 and oh gosh, what else
Is
did he
Deadpool
do?
2 in your top 100, Terry?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just classics like Deadpool
Classic.
2.
Bullet Train. Oh, Bullet Train. Yeah, I forgot he did Bullet Train. He did Hobbs and Shaw. Atomic Blonde, I think, was the first time I'd ever really heard his name.
Legendary.
Yeah, legendary director. And apparently he's a former stuntman, which is they tell you before the movie starts in the movie theater, and that's part of why this movie is made, because this movie is more than any other movie I've ever seen a love letter to stuntmen. And if there was ever a reason to get stunt coordinating an Oscar category, like this movie is campaigning for it really hard, and to the point that it actually even says it in the movie. But yeah, The Fall Guy, it stars Ryan Gosling, it stars Emily Blunt. Ryan Gosling is a stuntman, Emily Blunt is a cameraman turned director, and they have this fling until Ryan Gosling has an accident, and eventually he gets brought back into the world of stunting, as he is the primary stuntman for the biggest action star in the world, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who plays a character named Tom Ryder. They reference Tom Cruise a lot, and I'm like, is this guy supposed to be Tom Cruise? Like, no, because they talk about Tom Cruise, so he's not Tom Cruise,
And he
but his
sounds
name's
like
Tom
McConaughey.
Ryder. Yeah, he does sound like McConaughey. And he does all his own stunts, except he doesn't. Winston Duke is also in this movie, so you know Adam's gonna like it. This movie is the action in this movie is really, really cool. It is really, really fun. Every set design, when they get into like the heavy action stuff and you know the stunt work is happening, it's just fun and it's just cool and it is a blast to watch. Where it kind of falls flat a little bit, for some reason, I didn't think the chemistry between Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt really worked that well. Whenever it's the two of them, the movie kind of screeches to a halt, and you kind of lose interest until you get back to the action. Like, this is one of those where you need more action, less plot, and it tried to make us care a little too much about the plot. I'm giving it 2.5 stars. Was it a fun watch? Yes. When I watched it again, yes. Is it a good movie? Nah. But
wait a second, and that doesn't add up.
That totally adds up. How many? There's always movies like that are okay movies but are rewatchable movies. That's
like
what
the retirement plan.
Like the retirement plan, exactly.
Okay, good. Okay.
So that's where I'm at with The Fall Guy. It's a very watchable movie, very entertaining movie, but I can't say it's a good movie. Zach, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, so last week we reviewed Challengers, which I said was the worst movie of the year, and I hated it. And then a strange thing happened. You guys liked it. That wasn't strange. What was strange is that you got into my head. And I'm not going to give Challengers thumbs up, and I know we're not reviewing Challengers, but I just want to bring that up. Anyway, yeah, this movie sucks. I hated it. I hated every second of it. There's been a recurring theme on this podcast, I guess is why I bring it up. This was like absolutely everything I hate about movies. I hate the ironic wink at the camera, meta bullshit. When they're talking about, oh, this movie we should do a split screen, and it's in a split screen. I hate it. I hate how long this movie is. I hate how indulgent it is. I hate the premise of this movie is like ridiculous. The fact that it was shot in Sydney reminded me of Anyone But You, which was also a terrible movie. So that gave me some PTSD. The best thing about this movie is the opening message from Ryan Gosling and the director. And what I like about that opening message, it's the first time I've ever heard an opening message that was a put your phones down, but not really, because Ryan Gosling said, if you put it in your jacket, it's okay to text during the movie.
And turn them down.
Just turn it down, just kind of make it, not as visible. And I thought that's a curious statement, because everybody says, don't text during the movie, but this was such a shitty movie that I think it was okay to text during. Gosh, I mean, where to start? If this movie had been made 30 years ago, it would have been like actually well written. It would have had interesting actors in it, like maybe Michael Keaton or Gina Davis or something, and it would have been built around scenes, not set pieces, not stunts, not gimmicks. The stunts in this movie don't even look that cool. I mean, it looks really CGI fake, and I don't know if that was like the intent. Like, again, this movie is it's too cool for everybody. So maybe they're saying that, the CGI is, really what the stunt work is today. I don't really know. I agree with Terry. I thought that Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling had like no chemistry. When they're talking about Julia Roberts and Pretty Woman in Notting Hill, again, just the dialogue that makes you roll your eyes. I do like the poster. That was another thing I liked about this movie. The poster I thought looked kind of cool. It looked like they were channeling Tarantino, and those were the other things that I thought about. I thought about Death Proof, where you didn't have to have an A-list actor play a stunt person, and that person was much more believable and interesting. And I also thought about the Nice Guys, the Shane Black movie, which basically this movie is almost the exact same movie or Gosling's playing a very similar character too. But that movie had interesting side characters. It actually had a plot, and it was actually fun and watchable. This movie is not watchable. I don't know what more to say about it. I'm sure people will like it. It's getting good reviews. What I bring up challengers for is that you guys might like it, but there's no possible way you could convince me to like it. I hate movies like this. I know they're trying to have a fun time, and I wish I know that Gosling in particular is very picky about the movies that he makes. I'm surprised he made this one. For a movie that is about Barbie's husband and Oppenheimer's wife, I wish that there had been more explosiveness, and I thought their sketch at the Oscars was better. Like I said, I'll say that the opening was good, and I actually like the. Okay, I will say this too. There's a third thing I like. I'm trying to be generous here. I like the actual movie that they made. They show that at the end of the movie. I'm like, okay, I'm down for watching that. Jason Momoa, that looks actually really cool. Pinot Award nominee Jason Momoa in whatever shit that movie is a movie that I'd actually watch. I mean, that actually looked pretty good. So I'm at 1.5 stars. I don't think you guys are going to make me rethink my review like you did with Challengers. Zendaya would have been much better in this movie. Everybody would have been much better in this movie. This was a waste of time, I thought.
Two other things I'll say that I liked and you might not. I liked the dog. The dog was great, and I liked the
There was a
dog,
dog?
the French speaking dog. All his commands are given in French. Like the
Yeah,
dog was
but
awesome.
we saw the movie about Cliff Booth and his dog. I mean, we don't need a whole.
True. But then I think Ryan Gosling and Winston Duke had more chemistry than Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. And the game they're constantly playing of trying to guess where the movie quote is from is something I think we need to adopt for the Almost Sideways podcast. Todd, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like this movie either. I do not like this version of Ryan Gosling. It's so uninteresting to me. His self-aware, self-deprecating thing, like it takes away everything that makes him a cool actor. Like I get it, you need to do Barbie. It was a great script and whatever. You have to take that role. But with the Nice Guys and stuff like this, like he doesn't have anyone to balance out his tendencies even. Like I just don't like his roles. I like his brooding self and like Drive and The Place Beyond the Pines, and when he's making his ridiculous directorial debut. Like those are the kind of things I think are interesting about Ryan Gosling. This isn't it. Like his winking comedic roles just aren't that great. And he's not Robert Redford. He's not Brad Pitt. That's kind of what he's going for here. And I just don't think it works very well. I think Hannah Waddingham is the best character in the movie. Like she fits what the movie's going for a lot more than Emily Blunt does. Like she and Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think, are probably the best parts. The leads I think should have been more like, if it was like James Franco and Rose Byrne or something, I think it would have made it a lot more sense than Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. But I don't know, if I was a teenager or like in my 20s or something, I probably would have liked this movie. With the crowd I watched it with was roaring throughout. There was like a large college age group, and they were dying during this movie. And like I was confused because is this really what they wanted? I guess it is. Like I had the opposite experience. Like back when I first watched Tropic Thunder in the theater, I was the only one in the theater laughing, but I was in college at the time, and but I found it hilarious. And here I was like the only one just sitting there like, what? I don't really get it. And the movie's kind of predictable too. It's got an incoherent plot, but it's somehow predictable. It's like if you take Game Night and take out the creativity, you'll make The Fall Guy. And the movie is unending. Like I was like, okay, the movie's about to wrap up, and when he's on the boat, and I looked at the clock, and it was like it's still over an hour left of the movie. I was like, you got to be kidding me! Like it was brutally long, and it's just like, and it had so many different endings. The closest relative to this movie is The Lost City from a couple years ago, and
Oh,
Sandra Bullock and
Channing
Channing
Tatum.
Tatum. That one, I think the leads are more interesting, but same kind of lame PG-13 action movie nonsense with a romance plot in there. That one's a little bit better movie. I'm kind of giving it the same rating. I'm at like a low 2.5 stars because I don't know. I mean, maybe I should go lower considering my review is definitely worse than Terry's review, but that's where I landed. 2.5 stars, kind of 2 stars, but whatever.
I agree with you that Aaron Taylor Johnson and Hannah Waddingham or whatever, like they were interesting characters. You're right. I actually had not heard that criticism anywhere but here. So good on you, Todd. They should have been the leads of the movie. It would have been much better. Also, I agree. The movie should have been rated R. I mean, there's nothing funny in this movie. There's nothing edgy about this movie. There's nothing sexy or sensational or violent or anything. It's way too tame, and it needed that edge maybe to give the characters a little bit more interesting or unpredictable dynamics. But the theater that I was in was a complete dud. People actually left the theater. I think that we were all, maybe the tornadoes were coming, but everybody was just like bummed that this movie kind of sucked. I mean, it got nothing. Like there was no reaction at all.
The one part that the one scene I think most stands out is the scene where they just blast DJ Khaled, All I Do Is Win, for no reason when he's like in the one apartment. I'm just like, what? I was like, what wavelength is this movie on? I don't know. I wasn't figuring out, but it was entertaining because I hadn't heard that song in quite a while.
You know what's kind of strange too is like I was thinking during this movie, I gave thumbs up to Bullet Train, and I think we all kind of liked Bullet Train if I remember correctly. I don't think Bullet Train is that dramatically different from this movie, except that it was R-rated, and except that it had much more interesting side characters. And Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry were like great in the movie. They stole the show. So maybe this director needs to focus on his more eccentric minor characters and make them the centerpieces of the movie. But I don't know.
When Brad Pitt can do anything, Ryan Gosling can't do anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you throw Ryan Gosling in Bullet Train, it still works. I think what didn't work was it had a love story that no one was buying.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people did. I mean, like I said, the theater I watched it in, well, like everyone was dying during the movie, except for this one guy. He kept like standing up. I don't know if he had a back problem or something. He kept standing up, like, and watching like whole scenes at a time, standing up. It was kind of weird. But the movie got really good reviews though too. And it was #1 at the box office, just edging out episode 1, Phantom Menace, of course. But by edging out, I guess it was 3 times as much, but still. I mean, people seem to be liking this movie for some reason.
Okay, so this is another interesting point. So Todd and I discussed this a couple weeks ago when we randomly happened to be in the same showing of the same movie at the same time. And this is theater placement. Where do you sit in a movie theater? So Todd always sits like second to last row in the middle.
Yes.
I always sit in the first row in front of the center aisle. And so there's no seats in front of me. Like there's like the aisle that goes across the front. There's like 3 rows in the front. I always sit in the first row there. So Todd is giving commentary on what the audience did. It's because he sees the audience the whole time.
It's like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode.
Yeah,
he sees the silhouettes get up and move. That's interesting.
Where I am the silhouette, nobody's ever in front of me. So it makes for a very different viewing experience. I feel I've watched it with maybe 10 people, and I really couldn't tell you what any of them did or said.
So they weren't like audibly laughing.
No, but there weren't enough people to really tell if they were or not either. So,
I mean, I saw it Friday night too. It was like 7:00. It was kind of prime time to watch the movie, I guess.
Oh, you went to the 7:00? I went to the 8:00. So
this movie needed a Shane Black R-rated rewrite. And then maybe we're talking about something that's interesting or unique or maybe edgy in some way, but it just was totally dead. Now, what I will say about what I agree with about Terry, I think Ryan Gosling can be hilarious. I mean, if you don't believe me, look at him on Saturday Night Live. He kills it every time he's on SNL. He's a great guest. I think he has a great sense of timing comedically. He's obviously great as brooding Ryan Gosling too, although I think he's not uncomfortable making fun of that persona. But in this movie, he's a really bland and uninteresting character who does a lot of like. There's a lot of choreography involved with him, and I think we're supposed to find him funny, but he's not funny. Aaron Taylor Johnson is a much funnier, more interesting character, and same with Hannah Waddington. So
I love that
there you
Ryan
go.
Gosling showed up to the premiere with Mikey Day in their Beavis and Butthead outfits from SNL. If you guys didn't see that,
Mm.
yeah, they showed up to the Fall Guy premiere as Beavis and Butthead from the sketch they did.